So we'll start right off with just the overall vision. Why the changes? You've talked about how it's just been a lot of red tape, so I know that's the purpose, to cut through the red tape. What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a couple things. What's that? We okay? Those are your friends, not mine. Those are the people you brought, not me. Okay. So let me take a step back. Rosa mentioned this when we first got here. We did an analysis. We had 117 business licenses on the books, more than 4 other cities combined: LA, Phoenix, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. We've reduced them down to 40. When I ran for office, that was one of the big complaints of how cumbersome and Byzantine it was. That was a big piece of it. The second piece was there was access to capital. So we created the microloan. It's kind of that space. No bank will lend to you, and no family member will talk to you anymore. Say no. Don't worry, we love you, even if your family won't talk to you. And it's that $15,000 to $25,000 unit. And you know, when I did the paving announcement, Way Mayside is doing the engineering work on it. She was going to close. She couldn't meet payroll. We gave her a $15,000 bridge loan, which is the microlend. She's now got somewhere close to 15 employees and working on streets and water departments work and paving streets. And that was an engineering firm that was in Roseland, a part of the community. So that was to help people get access to capital who couldn't get banked as a business. I would say the problem then, when Rosa had a series of hearings, Emma did it, I went out and I had lunch on the west side with a number of women businesses. Chicago's small business operation was set up one size fits all. License, inspections. And if you step back and really look at all the individual reforms we're announcing, meaning if you're a new business, the license fee is you get 2 years for 1 year cost, because your first year is different than when you're in your 5th or 7th year. It's not the same type of existence. You're established. So we want to meet businesses where they are in their process rather than just have a one-size-fits-all approach. And that was to make the city more of a partner rather than a problem, be more attuned to where business was in their own area. So some restaurants do pop-ups. They want to try a concept. They want to try a meal out, but they don't want to invest $250,000 in a new kitchen and feeding out the retail. So having a pop-up license where you can go for 10 days, 30 days, 60 days fits a business where they are and how they're living and breathing and trying to get established. Cutting your license for a new business is better. We used to do inspections 9 to 5. Now we're going to come on after hours, and we're going to come on weekends because that's easier for the small businesses. And we're going to tell you beforehand, here's what we're going to look at, so when we come, it's not a pop quiz. You can have everything ready because time is money. And our goal as a city is reforming the licensing process, the financing process, all the things we do, is to really get out of your life, be less onerous, know where you are in the different stages of what it takes to build a family business, whether it's access to capital, professional support, reforming government. So we are actually meeting a small business, and you and I just saw what was an empty set of shops, now it's going to become an ice cream store, 8 employees, a coffee shop, 15 employees, a grocery store, 12 employees, an IT space, another, the gentleman wasn't there, 15, let's call it 15. That was an empty space that's now going to have close to about 60 to 70 people in small business, family-run businesses. We helped them with financing. We rehabbed the apartment. We're repaving 47th Street. And that's going to be a vibrant retail corridor that used to be boarded up storefront. And I'm glad the city's a part of that. Right, and it's all here. That's it. So my thing, and I'll just end here, Dorothy, is we try to hear, we don't have it right, but we know what we're doing is what the businesses ask, and then we're going to listen some more, and if there's changes along the way, we'll make more changes. But for the first time, government's trying to be nimble and more attuned to where business is, rather than say, if you're a business downtown or you're a coffee shop in Bronzeville, you get the same type of license treatment. So we're trying to be more sensitive to where a business is in its own business cycle.
So let's break down some of this, and I'm going to
sure.
try to also make sure that I answer the questions of those business owners here that you would probably have. When you talk about simplifying the license process,
Yeah.
How difficult was it before, and what kind of changes will business owners now see when you talk about making that simpler?
Well, first of all, you used to have who got benefited by having 117 licenses versus 40? The lawyers you had to hire. Those are the only people that won. Now we've consolidated a lot of redundancy. Second,
But what does that mean?
what does that mean is that I'll give you this one anecdote
Okay.
from that. If you wanted to open up a pet shop, you needed a license. If you wanted to sell a collar for the dog that you were selling, you had to have a separate license. If you wanted to offer grooming service at that pet shop with a separate license, you're just looking for somebody to buy a dog. We had 3 separate licenses. That's now 1. So that's really much simpler. Take the restaurants. They asked for this. We used to give you, if you wanted an outdoor cafe, it was a 9-month, and then you had to repeat it. We're now giving 12-year round the clock. That's what they wanted, and that's going to be, well, there was one guy doing a silent applause, okay?
So how does that's a good one, the Sidewalk Cafe.
Sure, let me just say this. You may be in Oslo, you may be in Copenhagen, you may be in Stockholm. We're a lot tougher than you are, so we're going to handle this a lot better, okay?
So the advantage of that, the advantage of taking that 9 months and now spreading out for next week, we're going to have 80
Well, because obviously there's 2 advantages. One, they think they actually can get businesses 12 months a year rather than 9 months. Our licensing was restricting them to only 9 months. They're making a business decision. Why should we step in the way? If they think they can make a go at a 12-month outdoor cafe, why should our license restrict it? And if it brings more life, that means you have a more vibrancy to a neighborhood economy, which means it has more opportunities. Because if you open up this store, guess what? Somebody else may open up another store. We had a structure that they think did not work for the success of their business. They would think, and my guess is you and I are, if it works, you and I are going to go out and I'll buy you your first cup of coffee in December at a cafe outside. We're both wearing our parka. But here's the thing. They believed they can make a go of this. Why should our business license structure be, we don't think you can. You only get 9 months. And that's a big change. They and the restaurants.
Are they going to have to, will it cost the same? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
So that's the goal is not to get the revenue. Here's what the biggest cultural change Rosa and I have. If you open your door, we're succeeding. It used to be, here's all your problems, fix them. Well, if you're not opening the door for another 2 months, it's not like we're succeeding because you're not having a vibrant business. We succeed when it says, goes from closed to open. And that's a cultural shift in the bureaucracy. And if you got customers coming in and out of that ice cream store, customers coming in and out of that grocery store, you got sales, we're succeeding too. So don't think of it as the only financial is, which is a fair, on the license. The way to think about it is if they are hiring people, customers are coming in and out of that door, we win too. And that was a mind shift for business affairs to begin to think like that.
So speaking of the licenses, though,
And
how
here's
much
one
will
other.
it cost?
And here's one other thing to think about this. And Rosa's going to do this. Building does this, and I say this. We're putting out on the website of Business and Consumer Affairs a clock. You'll know what the average day is for what it takes to get a license. And so if you're all of a sudden 4 days and the average is 3 days, you'll know whether you're behind, and we'll know whether you're behind, and therefore we got to all pick up the pace here. So we will be held accountable to getting you in and out of the door also. And there's going to be a clock that actually holds our feet to the fire that a new business can use with us.
You said new businesses won't have to pay as much. What's the change now? How much did it cost before to get a license? How much will you pay now?
So the basic is for a new business, what used to be every year, you'll get a 2-year license for the price of 1. And I can Rosa can give you the exact.
Going from 250 to 125.
250 to 125.
Basic license.
So the definition of new business, is that someone who has never been in business before, they're going to pay that money, or is that someone who perhaps is selling widgets over here, but now they want to sell shoes? So what's the definition of now they're a new business?
So I asked Rosa this, so here's the policy is, we just went to what would be the fourth place for Sip and Savor, coffee shop.
So,
And that store there will be a new business, even though it's the fourth of their business. So it's a new storefront.
New license.
Yeah, totally.
New license, okay.
For that store right there at 47th. That's what counts.
and so that's for 2 years.
Yes.
All right, so back to the onus being on the city. So I'm a business owner, and before it's taking me a while to get this inspection and to get this next license. What is the city going to do now, you said, to make sure that the process is faster, this clock that you're talking about?
Well, there's two other bets. One, when we would come for inspections.
Okay.
We never told you what we were going to look at. Today we'll let you know ahead of time so you can get ready, get everything ready. So this is not a pop quiz. Our goal, again, the mindset, the sooner you open up your door, the sooner you're getting customers, we are also successful. The success was not measured by how many businesses we stopped, but how many businesses we got open. I know that sounds simple, but it was like a cultural shift. And then, so the goal is, here's the question. The second, here are the set of questions we're going to look at. The second is on the inspections piece. We're outfitting all the inspectors with an iPad. So they will, it used to be they would go back to the office, type up the report,
They're shaking their
send it.
heads.
Yeah, see, look at you.
nodding,
Look at all. Look, you are like in that. And then you'd wait. And then what if they put the wrong address on the envelope? So we give them in real time exactly what the things if we gave them a checklist beforehand, and if there's still issues, they get it in real time with a person right in front of them.
And so, because when I talk to business owners, they say, and while they're waiting,
Right.
they got to pay the contractors.
bank-
they have
the
to
bank-
pay the rent.
Yeah.
They have to pay the investors. They're still paying bills, and they're waiting.
On us. Yes. And our goal is time is money. So again, the shift is to be where the business is, be where they're living day in and day out. Now, do I think cutting the fee is going to change the economic dynamics of Chicago? No. Do I think it's smarter to understand that the first year is not like we went to what's now going to be the fourth store for Sip and Savor. They're an established, they know how to get things going, et cetera. But we have to be more nimble to where a business is. While you're a restaurant, one of the reasons we're doing this pop-up is they don't want to plop down $250,000 and wait for health, consumer, fire. So we're going to give you a 10-day, 30-day, 90-day. You can go in, try your concepts without having to put $250,000 and a bank that's breathing down your neck before even anything's come. One person's walked through the door and you got to start paying it. So the pop-up license allows people to, which is what they want, try a concept out, try a neighborhood out, try a different type of a menu out, and it's sensitive where they then don't have to give anything but their time because they don't want to put down all that money yet until they figured out their business plan. Again, getting in, where is the business, where are they, how they living, and being more responsive in our process to how they want to get started up.
I was talking to someone in the city yesterday about the pop-up, because that's
Yeah.
really intriguing to me. So the business will have to find the place where they want to go, or will they be partnered with someone?
So it's-
Landlords say, okay, I'm willing to take a pop-up, or pop-up says, hey, put out something that says, I'm looking for a location. How will that work?
Two ways to view it. One, the business itself it gets a pop-up 10-day, 30-day, 90-day. You know, think about this. We do that for people that want to sell Christmas trees. So it's taking the same concept and now making it year-round for all different types of things. Second is you could think about the corridor we were just at on 47th Street, the Rosenwald House. If they had decided that storefront facing 47th was going to be a pop-up, they would get a license that we're going to be a pop-up kind of first floor. And each of those 4 different businesses, or 2 of them, could be a pop-up space, and restaurants could come in there, boutique for clothing stores could come in. They could try out their concept there. And so the owner of the retail space is a pop-up license, and then the business itself that wants to just try out and do it for 10 days or 30 days or 90 days.
So I have to believe then the owner of the retail space, if we're talking about a food establishment, they have to basically have all of that equipment
Sure.
there, and they have to be the
They
kind
may
of
think
owner
that
that's
that-
saying,
They may think that that space is, their business model for that space is a pop-up space. They don't want to have a permanent restaurant. They want to have
Kind of like
chefs.
Airbnb.
Well, they want. That's where the world's going. You know, that's.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You just said, you hit it on the head. I knew we could do this together. The world's changing, and the city of Chicago has to change. We were not set up. Yes, some people on a retail have a retail section. They're going to say, you know what? We don't want to just try to figure out a restaurant. We want to be a pop-up place where chefs come in and out, baker people come in and out. Here, we're going to make an investment in a kitchen, and then 4 or 5 different people will come in and out of the place. That's what they want as their business model. We are upgrading the city to accommodate where the market is going. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. No, but the world is changing.
Sounds like a great idea.
No, but we were not. Think about it. You think you can be a successful business with a 12-month cafe outside? City of Chicago, 9 months. That's all you get. You were missing 3 months, and you think you make over it. Why should we stand in the way of that? Makes no sense. You want to have a retail that doesn't have a permanent restaurant, but is a pop-up concept. A lot of chefs are doing this now. We didn't have a model for that. We're now going to adapt to something that's happening, whether we do it or not, and we need to catch up so it's actually there, it's credible, it's clean, and people can understand that it's safe when they go there.
And so for the new business owner, is it really, I mean, could they really go and say, I just want to be in this location for 10 days? I mean, will it be as little as 10 days, or are we really kind of talking, is there a limit that says it's got to be at least 60?
But here's the thing.
Is it 10 days?
Yeah, it's 10, 30, and 90. You get what you want. But Dorothy, people are doing this already. That's what you, don't think that like, this is happening whether, it's a whole brave world out there, Dorothy. I know you're scared, but we're going to go out there together.
Well, I mean, I love pop-ups because they, you know, people come up with some really cool stuff that they want to sell for that time, and then they get people like me attracted to it, and then they're gone. Right. But that's okay.
But then you follow them, and they decide, and then they decide they're going to go into another neighborhood, and they're going to try a different cuisine or a different type of way of preparing their chicken, and they want to try it somewhere else. It's not because we would think of it, or I would.
But they have to do the same
I'm not going to say this for you. I'm old school. I would think, oh, I'm trying this idea until I want to establish it. No, they want to be, I'm not saying this derogatory, they want to be nomads that walk around the different parts of the city trying different things out. And that's the business model they live under.
So let's talk about the licenses for those pop-ups. So you're only going to be there for 30 days. How much do you pay for a license? Do you do a license just for 30 days?
Yeah.
And do you have to go through all of the different inspections?
No, the person that has that store front,
okay,
they're getting their kit. Let's stay with the business of the restaurant.
okay.
They get that place licensed for being a pop-up, for being clean, for the health purposes, not the chef, him or herself. Okay?
And so they will have the license?
Yeah, they have a license for being a pop-up space. And the Dorothy Tucker coffee shop, they're a pop-up, and you're just in, you want to do it for 30 days in this neighborhood, or you want to try this baked good product for 10 days. You only want to do it around Christmas. It's more fluid.
Okay. Let's go back to the inspections overall. Did I hear you say that you are actually going to give business owners the questions ahead of time?
We're going to tell them what we're going to look, not questions so much as what we're going to look for.
What you're going to look for?
Yeah, so they can get ready.
You don't do that now? You don't do that? They don't do
we
that
don't,
now?
no.
They have to read a big
No,
book.
yeah, so and we also going to be, Dorothy, think about it this way. This again is this is the backbone of Chicago's economy and the backbone of our neighborhoods. What you're looking at a flower shop, a dry cleaner, or a restaurant is not the same thing. Not anywhere close. And we're customizing it so what we're going to look for, and you can think is we're giving them the questions, but my goal is not to be in their face all the time. Here's what we're looking at. Real time, we're going to give you the information. So when we come, you already know. You'll have done the checklist. We can look and inspect and certify, and we're going to go, if it's easier for you after 5 o'clock, we'll be there after 5 o'clock. If it's easier for you to do it on the weekend, we're going to do that. We were doing 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That was it. What if you wanted to be with a client then? No, the city takes priority. Well, that's not the way to think about it. No, you want to be with your clients, those are the hours, and 7 o'clock is easier for you on a Thursday, we're going to adjust. This is where businesses are. And again, it is not perfect, but it's a lot closer to where small businesses today are living and breathing than where we are. And we are really far behind and holding some people really back. The other thing I want to say that we didn't touch, the financing problem, obviously, just because we have a micro lending. I'll give you an example of a business that has tapped 2 different things. Lane's Bakery. 3 things, actually. So part of a factory now that she's opened up for her bakery, we gave her a neighborhood opportunity fund that comes out of the growth of our central business district, and that's about $200,000. That's going to employ about 6 to 10 people. That's going to be on the south side. Then we gave her a TIF resources, and she opened up in Pullman a storefront bakery shop. And she was the 200th recipient of the microloan that was in the $15,000, $10,000, $20,000 range. She's now not only getting a factory in Chicago, a storefront, and she distributes to over 15 different Whole Foods, the first one being the one in Englewood. Wow. And again, she's got a different model than the pop-up and whatever, and the inspections or the fee, but each one of the 2 places, the factory and everything, those are new businesses. That's not Lane's Bakery, one business. And so we got one wow, so that's like we're at church now on Sunday. And if I'm really good, I'll get an amen at the end of this. But here's the thing, is there's a person who was in her kitchen at home. She's now got a storefront opening up in Pullman, a factory, I forgot, I think it's in Bronzeville or Woodlawn. Woodlawn, okay. I knew that, I was just testing you. And she's in 10 plus Whole Foods. Her factory is to meet her Whole Foods requirements. Not requirements, bids, her orders. And what the city did was have different lending, from micro lending to our neighborhood opportunity fund. And she's got about 15 now employees in the city of Chicago on the south side. That was a bake shop in her kitchen at home. And we were able to help her. And that's a classic example. And the neighborhood opportunity fund comes, McDonald's moves in from Oak Brook. They moved the corporate headquarters. Because they moved into the city, they put $3.2 million into the neighborhood opportunity fund, and about 28 businesses got $100,000 to $120,000 grant, not a loan, to open up a second shop, rehab the store that they have, knock down a wall and add 10 tables. And Lane Bakery is the factory, is a recipient of about $200,000 for the baking factory in Woodlawn. It's going to be 6 to 10 employees, and that's a beneficiary of what we did because a company moved downtown to the city of Chicago.
So I'm sure business owners out here are wondering, okay, so how do they take advantage of this? What are you looking for in terms of handing out these grants? Some of them probably already have it
who's
already.
a recipient of a neighborhood opportunity fund that's here? Okay.
Who wants to know how to become a recipient?
Okay. All right. So I will tell you that's all different businesses all across south and west side of the city of Chicago. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to find out about, first of all your friends that you brought, hopefully they'll put it on the news. That'd be one way. Okay? That's your job. You get those friends of yours to do that. Number 2.
Just watch Channel 2.
Okay. But here's actually, I'll give you one thing that you should, 2 things you should know. Or 3. 1, we thought we'd be this year maybe 15 million. We're up, if everything's that we're recruiting and building, we're going to be at 40 million, which is another 400 plus businesses that are going to get neighborhood opportunity fund. The end of May is our next distribution. 2 is, that's the good news. On the last round we did, which was 19, we had 700 applicants. People, the word of mouth is like, it's happening. So when you say, how do I know? They know. Trust me. The third thing, and this is anecdotal, but I just found this story out on the ice cream store that we just saw. So we advertise Neighborhood Opportunity Fund on those electronic billboards. She just saw it, this is your story, she saw it on the sign. She called her husband and says, you better look this up, they're handing out money. and why? Now here's actually all funny, but here's what's real serious. He had 3 or 4 people that said, I'd like to take a piece of your business and be an investor. He didn't want to give up ownership. And he knew, though, if he was going to move from Lakeview on the north side to Bronzeville on 47, he wasn't big enough for a bank. They don't take time on this. He didn't want to give up his dream, his family dream, his business, his idea to some other investors. And yet he couldn't get access from the banks, or he can go private and somebody else can get a piece of this business, and at the end of the day, rather than work for himself, he may be working for somebody else. And his wonderful, beautiful wife happens to be driving on the highway. Our free advertising went out. She told him. And now he owns his dream. Nobody else has a piece of it but him and his wife. And 20 minutes ago, I didn't know that story. They just told me that story, how it came about. And
so if there is any 1 or 2 tips you could give to business owners, and I know you guys are going to talk to them and say, well, how did you qualify? How did you make it? What would you tell them? What are the 1 or 2 things that perhaps the city that will take that application to the top and increase your chances of getting it?
Oh, that, now I really appreciate I'm going to have to go into a witness protection plan now.
Give us the secret.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Artie runs this. Now, the serious news is, so I know you guys find this shocking. I'm impatient. Okay, it's self-realization. I'm impatient. So I told the team in planning, there's a committee that looks at all the loans. I said, look, when you approve the last set of loans, you had 700 applicants. My guess is there were more yeses in there than the 17 or 19 we approved. Get going already on the next set. Don't wait, so we have them in the queue. That's one. So we're now starting a rolling, rather than money came in, start the application. You know, we were old school. So I said, move as the money's rolling in. We know this. Reefman that runs planning knows what's coming in, what's projected. Don't get ahead of what we think we have at a conservative account. So we have a rolling capacity. Second is, while it's a grant, it's not a loan. We're not looking at it in the same terms of paying back, et cetera. We do look at viability and success of the business. And that is a serious way we have to look at it, because even though I'm very proud that it will be like north of the 15 at $40 million, you still got to be smart about what you're doing. And then we look at it specifically in the neighborhoods that are struggling. Our neighborhoods that are struggling need this type of support, and creating, and I want to say this because we're doing it in a coordinated fashion. So right out here, you have a gallery. Let's be honest, when we opened this, it was an island. 3 blocks, we're now repaving 47th. Not just repaving it, it's getting more of kind of a parkway feel. 3 blocks down is coming a coffee shop, an ice cream, a grocery store. That creates its own retail corridor rather than being an island. And that means now you're going to get more foot traffic, people are going to be out more, and it's a real economic vibrant area. And what we're trying to also do is do it in groups. So to this wonderful gallery, they suffer through a lot being just an island. Now what we're trying to do is take 4 or 5 businesses in a neighborhood, pump them with resources so you have more chances of success because they actually live off of each other. There's going to be a ton of people going from a coffee shop to an ice cream store, walking through and picking up their groceries. That's viability. And since we put resources into the Rosenwall, there's going to be about another 300 residents in what used to be an empty, historic building in the city of Chicago with a totally paved new street in the corridor. And so we try to punch up our money together. Or as I like to say, there's actually a theory behind this madness.
Cutting the license fees in half, though.
Yeah.
What's the calculation on the money that the city loses? Yeah. You may make it up somewhere else, but I mean, if you're going from 250 to 125 every time a business gets a license, what's the projection?
So, quote unquote, the cost is around, we're calculating 250 to 300,000. Now that's the cost. Not everything's going to succeed. That's the theory of, I mean, that is what happens. There are some people that won't succeed. But there will be people that succeed, and some of them will even expand. I'm willing to take this upfront risk for that long-term gain. That's a fair question. I think what you're asking is a total, and that was, you know, there was some, I would be less than honest if I didn't tell you there were some people inside the city government who was like, you know, this is going to cost us X. I said, well, if they don't open up, it's going to cost us Y. So either we or they are going to bear the cost, and I think it's a smarter thing that we bear that cost, take that risk, and it's in the scheme of things, 250,000 to 300,000. I don't want to be, I'm not being cavalier, but it's really for a city not that big a cost. And again, I want to come back to this. I do think, Dorothy, it's a mind shift. It's a real total culture shift to then say, you know, if a store opens, gets going, and there's 2 or 3 of them on the street, we're winning. That's the measure of our success. Our measure of success is not how many people we rejected or how many times we had to make them go through the hoops on an inspection. And it was having people think different, act different, and understand their role in being either inspectors or you know, somebody that gives awards and a license, have them think different. Up front, it will cost us 250,000, 300,000. But when
So how long will you do this?
Well, you're asking a different question that I asked Rosa already on the way. We're starting with a group of businesses. This will affect, based on history, 2,300 to 2,400 business. It's a sector. My goal is, if it's successful, then to start migrating it to a next sector and actually grow it rather than just do it for a period of time. I'm going to actually grow it. That's the way I'm already. We didn't even start it. I've already talked to Rosa about expanding it. That's the way I want to look at it. Is how to, yeah.
So has the memo gone out to people who are city employees, because you're talking about speeding up the inspection process in holding people accountable? Does that mean that, you know, you're sending a memo out to the city employees saying, okay, don't let that application sit on your desk. Don't let that inspection license just sit on your desk. Send it back to them. Respond to these people in time.
Well, first of all, it's not like we just started this. And what I mean by that, we already have kind of what is called time in line accounting that goes on. Now, we all said this. Let me say this. This may not make me popular, but you have a lot of hardworking people in the city government who are trying to do the right thing. So let's just start there. While it's easy to kind of, and I'm one too, to bash the bureaucracy or the system, you got a lot of people trying to do the right things. There's some people that don't, but overall, the people are hardworking, trying to do the right thing. They weren't the ones that came up with 9 months versus 12 months on outdoor cafes. Quote unquote, the grown-ups did. They weren't the ones that came up with the idea that you had to do a business license one-size-fits-all approach. That's how it was. So they're trying to do their job, but there was some resistance to change, like there is in any place. Like when CBS wants to do something different, this is how we used to do it. So there's a little of that. The clock is going to help. Rosa and her team constantly have to reinforce throughout the system their opening up is our success, not finding the fault with what they're doing. It was a different way of looking at it. And I think in that way, people will be able to hold what we're doing accountable. We'll be able to, more importantly, in my view, hold ourselves accountable. I try to measure time in line. How long does it take somebody to go through zoning, building? Building department has this clock. That was the basis. We took it from what we do at the building department for their permitting to now the business licensing to what they did. So we can be held accountable to helping people get set up, and that we are not the problem, but part of the solution.
This is a lot of information.
Yeah.
So we're going to begin to wrap it up, but are you going to put out a pamphlet for all of this information? Are you going to hold workshops? All right.
Okay,
I'm so glad you're responding so quickly.
Yeah. Can I say one other thing that we're also, you know, we have the very successful 10,000 small business. So remember, everything we're doing here, I went to a couple lunches on the west side, Emma organized with African American women business owners. Rosa did some. I've done other types of listening sessions. Everything here came from suggestions that businesses had. There are other things that they suggested that we couldn't make work, but we looked at it. So I think my view is the reason this is being, not just in this room, received well out there, and you've heard from restaurateurs, et cetera, because these are actually things that they've been talking about, haven't been there. And this is building on things we have done before. Still, in the end of the day, one of the things I want to do is continue to expand the 10,000 businesses, so we continue to give professional guidance on marketing plans, business plans, financing, so businesses have that kind of professional help. Because not everybody here who's a small business owner has, outside of trial and error, has that support. We've run 700 businesses through that. It's at Harold Washington. Based on what we're doing, we think we can do another 300 to 350 businesses that will get that type of guidance. And it's like a 12-week boot camp. And so, again, trying to meet businesses where they are and where they live and how they breathe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.